All right, so here's another episode of the Hoot and Hollerin' podcast. Might be a short one, I'm not sure, but this one's going to be about prepping. And some people, it's like doomsday preppers or whatever. It's sort of a guilty pleasure of mine to just indulge in that a little bit. Yes, it's slight paranoia, but there's nothing wrong with being prepared for anything. Could be natural disaster, could be social disturbances, it could be solar flares like they say, the grid going down, economy collapsing. You never know, you never ever know. Look what COVID happened. We were pretty much, almost all of us were blindsided out of nowhere, and that forever changed our lives. I don't think we'll ever get back to pre-COVID feelings, but getting back to the prepping, it's important. And you know what? It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to be prepared for anything like that. You know. Um. So we could go through some list of supplies and whatnot. Like I said, I like to dabble in it a little bit. I like to entertain the worst case scenario. Sometimes it makes you sort of feel like it humbles you. Especially when you think like, yeah, everything's fine. It always feels good to entertain the worst case scenario, only because if it does happen, at least you're not blindsided, completely blindsided, anyways. But one of the biggest things, one of the biggest supplies that you could have is a hand crank radio FM, or a ham radio, or regular FM walkie talkies, two-way radios. Those are going to be essential, because if stuff does wind up hitting the fan and there is no way to communicate, there are radios out there that I have too, where you could actually link your phone up to it with an app and use the radio's antenna instead of like data service and stuff like that. Or you could just use the radios like a ham radio, where you could get on, channel 3 or certain channels that will help you out to communicate or to figure out what's going on in the world. Because if it all gets cut off or shut down, then you're sort of out in the open, and not having a clue on what's going on. There is no TV, no nothing like that. Now, of course, if there's an EMP and none of your devices are protected by like a Faraday bag or anything to protect it from an EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse, then yeah, then you're screwed. Like nothing electronic will work, essentially. So, for all the people that have those vintage cars, kudos to you, man. I wish I did have one too. But yeah, so radios is a very important one. You want to make sure that you have a first aid kit, with whatever medications you have to take, or herbal medications, like I was talking about in the last episode. Um, yes, antibiotics are essential to have. And if you could get your hands on antibiotics for the just in case and stash them away, then do it. Um, or you could create your own herbal antibiotics. Some people, are, have a stigma about the herbal remedies, but in a lot of cases, they actually work better than modern medicines. But yeah, antibiotics, any type of a first aid kit, anything to stop bleeding or any type of trauma, tourniquets are important. Emergency blankets sometimes come with those first aid kits, but sewing kit is huge, because if you have to do your own stitches and stuff like that, you never, ever, ever know. If the world goes to shit, at least you'll have these little supplies that could help you, render first aid and not have it turn into something that you can't treat. You know, multi tools like a Leatherman, those are always helpful, or just regular tools in general. An axe, a saw, hammer, nails. These things are essential. They're very basic, supplies and tools that, most of us take for granted. Duct tape, that's another one. Duct tape is huge. It could help with so many different things. It could stop leaks. It could, close wounds. It could, you could build stuff out of duct tape. People joke around about, about duct tape and whatnot, but it really does fix a lot. I won't say everything, but it fixes a lot, and make sure you have enough on hand, because you never, ever, ever know. Um, you think about, like, when you think about doomsday stuff, or like any type of prepping, most people think like camping. You know, Essentially that's really what it is. You hope you never wind up in the situation where you are like camping. You don't want to do that. When the world, when it does hit the fan, because it's better to hunker down where you're at depending on where you're at, hopefully you're not in any type of major city, because if that's the case, then good luck. You'd better be set up to go instead. But you want to be in a more like less populated area, mountains, woods, or if your house has a little bit of land, set up a little perimeter as best you can if it does wind up hitting the fan. But like, you never want to find yourself to where you feel like you're camping, because that's not, you're out in the elements. So it's better to just hunker down in your house at home. So, but like a camping stove, propane fueled or charcoal grill. I have a Blackstone with the propane. Like those things are going to be your main cooking sources if you don't have gas. If you have an electric stove in your house, you're sort of shit out of luck if you have no electric. A generator is huge. I definitely make sure you have a generator, possibly a dual or a tri fuel generator. So this way you could use propane, you could use gasoline, you could use natural gas, stuff like that. A whole house generator on propane is definitely probably the best setup that you could have, but any generator would help out. Even solar generators, it may not be enough to power your whole house, but it will be able to power your essential needs, like refrigerators and stuff like that. If there is no EMP, again, with an EMP, all electrics, all electronics are sort of like zapped. So we're back to the 1600s, so that's not cool. But back to some of these supplies here. Solar chargers or power banks, always keep an extra hand. They make solar powered power banks, you just leave them by the window sills and whatnot, and they're constantly being charged every day without you even having to think about them. As long as they're in like a nice little well lit place, if the power goes out, boom, grab those little solar power banks. You can keep your phone charged, you can keep little devices charged, stuff like that, or even use it to charge battery chargers, um, candles and tea lights and flashlights. Obviously, you're going to want a light source. Candles back in the day obviously were used for regular lighting, depending on where you place them, you got to be careful. But flashlights, LED lights, that type of stuff, keep plenty on hand. Ammo boxes full of batteries is good. What I'm saying? Maybe in Faraday bags, if there is an EMP, but batteries are huge to stack. You got backpacks or go bags. Like I was saying, if you're in a dense city or a densely populated area, you're going to want to have an exit plan. You don't want to really be in a giant city or anywhere where it's densely populated, where you have to worry about other people, harming you, your family, or your supplies, your home. So, but it's better to have a go bag. But either way, even if you're hunkering down, like, I always make sure that we have our go bags. If shit hits the fan, you never know what type of situation you're going to be in. So you're going to want to make sure that you could get out and have a plan to go somewhere with not everything, but mainly the things that you're going to need for a couple of days, because you don't know how long you're going to be there. Hopefully, wherever you're going to, you have it set up for long term as well. Um, but I would still suggest to hunker down if shit does hit the fan, because that's the best bet. Your land, your home, your neighbors. Hopefully, enough to where you could sort of control a little bit more. There's not really as many variables on the table if you had to just up and leave. But yeah, body wipes, hygiene products, those are you want to keep clean, because if you don't have running water or your usual amenities, you're going to have to try to keep clean, and keeping clean and having good hygiene is I'd probably say pretty up there. I wouldn't say it's number one, because food and water is, but you definitely want to make sure that you're clean and that you're keeping up with your hygiene, because that could lead to other problems, and that could lead to discomfort, that could lead to other people getting annoyed with you as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you do have problems, but being clean is essential. Body wipes and baby wipes, it's not the perfect shower, but it will do, in a pinch, if you have to, if you don't have running water. Obviously, you want to store enough water, and water storage is important. Some people have the rain buckets connected to their gutters, which I would love to do one day. some people have these gigantic containers that they have like 300 gallons of water in it, just chilling. The only thing is with that, you gotta keep it sterile. You gotta keep it clean, and make sure that it's closed off and sealed, because you don't really want to have it exposed too much, because then you're gonna have bugs, you could have diseases, you could have the water going bad, or just have another filtration process, because some people buy the Berkey water filters. Some people have the life straws, which life straws are always cool to have, because they're good for a while too. You can make your own water filters with charcoal and sand. People don't realize that too. Charcoal and sand, activated charcoal and sand. You can make your own water filters. You can have Brita water filters, that'll work too. Just stockpile them and whatnot. Clean water is essential. Clean water is probably by far one of actually it is the most important. Clean drinking water, because as most people know, you can't survive without water for a certain amount of days. You can survive longer without food, but water is a must. And water could also be used for a currency if, God forbid, it gets really, really bad. You could use water as a currency, which, I mean, is sort of scary to think about, but, it's definitely good to know, good knowledge. What else we have? Local maps, an atlas, and a compass, anything for navigation. Like back in the day, we used to use MapQuest, right? Um, if shit hits the fan and they say there is an EMP, there's not going to be any electronic GPS. There's not none of that stuff's going to exist. Where you're going back to literally a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and a compass, and hopefully you know how to use those things. If not, brush up on it, because it's good knowledge to have anyways. So but yeah, I would suggest an atlas of the whole country, because you never know. The main highways, the main roads and whatnot, the main essential things that you're going to need. Regular maps, useful as well, but if you have an atlas, you don't really have to worry about that, because you'll have all the roadways, you'll have the majority of the map anyways. Let's see what we got here. Fire extinguishers, anything to prevent damage, but fire extinguishers are huge. I'm saying very useful if, God forbid, you wind up having a fire or you need that for an emergency situation. If you do have a pet, do not forget about them when you're prepping. Make sure you prep up enough food for them. Um, we give our little guy, our new puppy, he gets fresh pet. He gets some fresh food. I make him eggs. I give him some extra steak here and there, but he still eats a little bit of dry food here and there. So if you have it, stock up on some of the dry food, some of the wet canned dog foods. The wet dog food in the can, sometimes that lasts up to 2 to 3 years, which is pretty good. And just remember, when you have these prepping and all this stuff in your stockpile or wherever you're keeping it, make sure you're rotating your stock, because if you're not rotating all your supplies, it's going to go bad and you're not going to realize it, and then it's useless. And if you don't feel like you're going to use it, and you still have to rotate, donate it. It's not going to hurt anything. Just donate it to a local church and whatnot. They could always use the canned food and the other foods that you're saving or whatnot to help other people who need it right then and there. And you want to know what? It sort of sucks. Like you're not really throwing away food or provisions, but you want to know what? You had it for as long as you needed it, and it's good to get rid of it if you don't need it to someone else who can. It's the right thing to do. Um, Food provisions for you and your family. Okay, yeah. So make sure you have enough food for yourself. You could use dehydrated foods, MREs if it gets really bad. Meals ready to eat is what that stands for. Where you just add boiling hot water, or there's like the bars that you could eat. It's not the most pleasant tasting, but it will get the job done in an emergency if you have to. You know, don't forget about rice. Rice is huge. Beans are huge, full of protein. Is it part of my regular diet? Absolutely not. But if you can't get access to, good meat or grass-fed meat, or you run out of it, if it's that bad and you're hanging out still and beans and rice are good protein and carbs and whatnot. Make sure it's white rice though, because brown rice does not last as long, especially when you're storing it, because brown rice is essentially the same thing as white rice, but it's still in the husk, and all that oil is in the husk, and the oil is what winds up turning the rice rancid and stale. So if you're gonna store rice, just make sure it's white rice. Regular white rice, basmati rice, jasmine rice, all that type of rice you could keep together. And just make sure that you have it sealed away from all the air and whatnot in a cool, dry place. What else we have? Firewood. That's one thing that's great too. Is like if you're in a wooded area, you got trees. You could plant trees. You got more. What you could do whatever you want with the wood. You could even cook over an open fire if you had to too. That's your fuel. Um, Make sure your family documents are safe too. That's another thing. When it comes to like social security cards, birth certificates, anything that you find important, even like jewelry and whatnot, or even precious metals, make sure they're all in a fireproof, waterproof safe, because you never know. You never know, especially if you live in a dense area or if you live in an area near the ocean or near any type of flooding or fires, out west. Just, make sure you have all that stuff protected. And that should be protected anyways. We're not just talking about prepping here. We're talking about just natural disasters in general. Like, why wouldn't you want that stuff protected? You know how much of a pain in the ass it is to get documents, like copies of those documents, like to go back. It's such a pain in the ass, to get copies of the originals, and it's like it's ridiculous, But going back to currencies, whenever the shit does hit the fan, because I honestly, I truly feel like it's not a matter of if, it's sort of a matter of when. The way this world is going right now, and I'm not trying to fear monger, but like it's just a personal opinion, and there's nothing wrong with being prepared. It's not going to hurt you and your family to just prepare yourselves for anything. Even if it's something as simple as, like, oh, you don't have enough room to prepare, you don't have a house and whatnot. You got a closet in your house. Just set up duffel bags with a couple of days worth of clothes, hygiene products, essentials, snacks, water, just a couple of days worth. It's still better than nothing. And if you have to get out, you could just grab those bags, grab them, everything, throw them in the back of your car, your trunk, your truck, whatever. Grab you, the family, the dog, or the pets, whatever, and get the fuck out. But you'll have those essential needs that you have with you for the next couple of days to last. It's still better than nothing, And I would say too, and I'm a proud supporter of the Second Amendment. We have the right to bear arms. God forbid anything goes down in this country. You never know. Like, look at the border crisis right now. And I'm not even getting political. Like, look at the border crisis, whether you're left or right. What's going on down there is not good. It's not good for any of us, no matter what you believe in. Most of these people that are coming into our country are military aged men. There's barely any women, barely any children, barely any elderly. Like, that's something's fishy. And when you see these interviewers and these people, these independent reporters, talking to these guys, they seem fishy. They're very vague in what they're trying to talk about. They pretend like they don't know English, even though they do. There's countless of the terrorists that were on the watch list that they're catching, and those are just the ones that they're catching. God only knows how many got away. So if you are naive to the fact that something can't happen here in our country again after 9/11, you're sadly mistaken. You're sadly mistaken, because I remember that day. It will be singed in my memory for the rest of my life. And though I was younger, I believe I was 12 years old when that happened, or 13. It was, it was life changing. And the feeling that we had in our country then, what I'm saying? Like, everybody stuck together, and, whatever you believe in, whether the conspiracy about 9/11 was true or not, I'm saying we were all hurt. We were all hurt by that. And to think that that can't happen again, or something like that can't happen again, you would just be stupid to think that. And why not prepare yourself for the just in case anyways? Not trying to fearmonger, but, it only takes a little bit at a time. And, some people say, like, I can't afford it. How do you afford it and whatnot? I have two kids, a dog, a full-time job. My wife has a full-time job. We're a working family, just like anybody else. We find ways when we truly know that something is right, and when you're supposed to be doing something, you find ways to just make it happen. You know, no pun intended, but you make that shit happen. Like, honestly, it doesn't cost that much to buy an extra thing of rice, to buy an extra, couple of cans of food here and there. That's going to last you a little bit. It doesn't hurt you much to, when you go to buy new t-shirts, buy an extra pack. When you go to buy new socks, buy an extra pack. Stuff like that. It doesn't hurt you right then and there. If you try to go out and buy all these supplies at once, yeah, it's going to break the bank. It's going to break the bank, but you got to have some patience and get started on it now. Get started on it now. But going back to if shit hits the fan, well, actually, sorry, when shit hits the fan, currency. Now, the dollar itself might be worthless at that point. You never know. In case it's not, you want to make sure that you have small denominations. $100 bills, whatnot, though they look great now. I got all these $100 bills. It's stupid. It's stupid to hang on to them. That should be already in the bank, or somewhere safe in gold or in silver, something in precious. Those are the only things that you're going to need in high amounts. When it comes to dollar bills itself, or currency, like actual American currency and whatnot, go small. $1 bills, $5 bills, a bunch of coins. Because if it does hit the fan, or when it does hit the fan, small bills are going to matter because you could break change better and whatnot like that. But without all that, say the dollar is useless. You have ammo, which I'd probably say that's probably worth more than what the dollar would be worth when shit hits the fan, because ammo could be used as currency, could be used to hunt, get more food, could be used to defend you and your family. Ammo is pretty up there in currency, I would say, if you ask my opinion. Seeds for fruits, vegetables, just growing seeds. That's right there. That's creating more food for somebody else. Like, so seeds, I'd probably say, are pretty high up there too in currency. You could trade seeds. Water, we already said water is a big one too, and then precious metals. Some people still like that stuff, or not even precious metals. If you have steel, if you know somebody who knows how to weld, or that forges knives and stuff, those are great skills to have for when shit hits the fan. Like, they're going to use these supplies to create other things as well. So, but yeah, so this is the small episode, I guess. It's a little short one on prepping. It's just a little dabble here and there. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a guest on for another prepping topic. But yeah, this is just another little guilty pleasure of mine to go through prepping and to talk about certain prepping supplies and whatnot. And when shit hits the fan, you got to be ready, man. Like, there's no harm in just preparing. You got to take care of you and your family, and all the loved ones that you have, and don't forget your pets too. And just have a plan. Have a plan. Hopefully, we'll never have to use it, but it's good to have that insurance. Till the next time, make sure you are subscribed and you like it and share it. Do whatever you want with it. Hopefully, you enjoyed this little bit of a video, and we'll keep them coming.